Hi there, my name's Chris from Store DJ, and today we're going to be looking at the brand new XDJ-RX3, the new 2-channel all-in-one system from Pioneer. This unit boasts the 10.1-inch touchscreen, which is the first of its kind in any of the Pioneer controllers. We've also been given updated performance pads, which have been illuminated from the back, making it much easier to see. We've also got updated platters, which give you a more tactile feel. The knobs and the faders have been updated to give you that feel of a real DJM900 club mixer. Let's break down some of these features and see what the RX3 is all about. So the LED display panel itself is the biggest of its kind with all the Pioneer units. And this one gives you the advantage of being able to see more of what you're doing at once. Here we can see 12 tracks at once instead of the regular 8, which is on the CDJ3000 or any of the predecessor controller models, which makes navigation of your playlists much easier, selecting tracks and loading them into each deck a lot easier as well. So first of all, we can select our USB. You've got USB 1 and 2. You can also run this unit directly from your laptop through Rekordbox, which will enable full performance mode of Rekordbox. But right now we've exported the playlists, which have been analyzed through Rekordbox. So once you've selected your playlist, you can see our playlist here, and we have all assigned waveforms for each track here. And we can also just use the touchscreen to scroll through, as well as your traditional CDJ dial. Selecting tracks is much easier with this unit. Simply click on the track and then load it into deck A or deck B. One of the great features of this touchscreen is the ability to preview tracks in your playlist without actually loading them into the deck. This can be done with the Q button, which has been added on top of the mixer, and then all you have to do is basically push that waveform and you can scroll through the track without loading it into a deck. Then lastly, for the display, one of the other great features is the ability to see the whole track here down the bottom, showing you all of the parts of the track and any cue points you have set throughout the whole waveform. This is very handy when you're planning ahead in your mix, seeing where the track's going and also just knowing how long you have left. And as you can also see, it's broken up here in this part just here, with what is known as the performance pads. So we'll come back to this in just a second, but you can see as I'm pushing each of the pads, it's changing the display here. So I know what each of the pads does when I'm live in the mix as well. So you'll be spending a lot more time focusing on the screen of the unit and engaging with the audience, which is what you want as a performing DJ. So the next feature we're going to focus on is the brand new performance pads integrated into the controller. These pads have been redesigned with a softer feel, which gives you more control and a more tactile MPC style feel of the unit. Each of the performance pads themselves has 4 different modes, which we can see across the top here. We have hot cue mode, beat loop mode, slip mode, and beat jump mode. And each of these modes also has a shift function, which will change the color of each option, giving you even more effects, which we'll run through right now. So the first one, very simple, just your simple hot cues, allowing you to trigger your cue points anywhere in the track. You can have up to 8 cue points per track, and then with the shift function, that gives you another 8 cue points per track. So ultimately you can have 16 cue points on one track and trigger them all with the performance pads, which is one of the first times that's been able to happen on a Pioneer unit. Second of all, we've got the beat loop function. This is great to have here immediately because it automatically sets a beat loop which has been quantized to your analyzed track through Rekordbox. This means you can have a beat loop on the fly, you can trigger that loop live in the mix without having to adjust your BPM, without having to adjust the size of the beats, or even activate the effect itself. Simply by pushing one button, you can set that loop straight away. As we can see on the display here, each of these pads has been broken up into a different time signature. We've got 3/4, 1 beat, 2/3, 1/3, and then if we go back to the beginning screen, we've got 1/4, 1/2, 1 whole beat, 2 beats, all the way up to 32 beat loops. You activate the loop simply by pushing the button, and you can turn that loop off by pushing the button again. If you're familiar with CDJ3000s or the 2000s, that was traditionally done with a loop in, loop out button, and then you needed to push exit to exit that. All of this can now be done with the trigger of one button on each deck, which is pretty amazing. So the next effect on the performance pads, which is worth mentioning, is the slip loop function here. And here we can see that we get a 1/16, a 1/8, a 1/4, a 1/2, all the way up to 3/4 for a slip loop. But the best part about this is when we go shift split loop, we activate the release effects. So some simple tricks here, like a short break, which basically is the same as you adjusting the vinyl speed. Right here, we can do that with one button. By simply just pushing that button, we create a vinyl pause. Alternatively, you let go, it just releases from where it was. Same happens when it comes to spin backs. It's always a great feature in a live club set to do some spin backs in the middle of your set. Sometimes though, you might have mistimed it wrong and you might be spinning back into a bit of silence of the track. These performance pads gives you the ability to do a spin back with just one button and not even manipulating the platters themselves. So we have a short spin back and we have a long spin back. And as soon as you let go of the button, it'll continue playing from where it was. So timing is crucial, but this gives you the ability to focus on other things like EQing, mixing in the next track, where you simply trigger a spin back. On top of that, we also have another great feature here in the split loop release effects, which is the echo out. So generally when you were doing an echo out, you would have to assign it to your channel. You would then have to select the echo, you'd have to select the length of that echo, and then assign it to the channel and activate that when you're in the mix. Right now, with the performance pads, we have that all on one button, and as soon as I push this button, it's going to create an echo out, which will fade away in 4 beats. As soon as I release the button again, we resume playing. So a great way to slowly transition from one track as you bring in another one. Additionally, on top of this, we also have another great feature, and they've added in a build-up function where you can basically create your own mini build-ups within a track, much like this. Then lastly, in the pad effects, we have the beat jump button. Not the most useful of all effects, but this allows you to quickly jump forward or backwards in beats, which is very handy if you're a battle DJ or doing scratching or doing some acapellas in the middle of your set and you need to quickly jump to the chorus. You can quickly jump forward and back in beats based on the beat jump.
There's no rush, baby. Come on and set the scene. Let's take a bath.
So as you can see from the layout here of this actual mixer, it's very reminiscent to the DJM900 Nexus 2, although it's only 2 channels. There are a few new features on this mixer, which are different from the DJM900 and a great little upgrade for a mobile DJ. One of those things I want to point out is the aux input here. It has its own dedicated section, which is amazing for a mobile DJ or a wedding DJ or a birthday DJ who might need to have some background music on a separate device. We can now turn this unit to have a portable aux input, which means we're adding 12 decibels of volume to that portable line in, which is an amazing feature for something like a phone or an iPad device. We also have a regular line input, which means we could also add a 3rd CDJ to this unit if we wanted to, or we can just turn that off. Additionally, each side of the mixer replicates what you would see in a nightclub and also gives you the same tactile feel. The faders themselves are a lot more sturdy than any of the other Pioneer controllers. The knobs just have a stronger feel, and even the color effects just feels exactly like I'm on the DJM900. You've also been given 2 additional color effects here, which aren't on any of the other units in terms of the controllers, and that's the crush and the space effects here. We've also been given 2 brand new effects on this mixer here, which is again reminiscent of the DJM900, and we have a brand new effect called Helix and another effect called Vinyl Break, which I showed you through the performance pads. So there's more than one way to do the same thing on this mixer, which is what you want as a DJ as you develop your own personality. So you can start to use one button for the effect, or you can begin to slowly manually assign the effect to the channel, or you can also do what's called triggering an effect on the touch screen. So I just want to show that very quickly now, that most DJs will use 1 to 2 effects, maybe 3 in their sets, and we can basically save these triggers to the touch screen. So all we've got to do is activate the effect and we're going. So I'll quickly show you how to set one of these up now with an echo. So if we've got a track playing, we would normally tap in our BPM, set the beat loop, and here we can see the beat loop change from half, 3/4, 1/4. Let's go to 1/2 because that's usually what I like to do. Let's give it a quick listen. Sweet, so the volume's there, we can hear the effect working. Now what I want to do is assign that to the touch screen so I don't have to set that beat echo anymore, just by clicking beat effects. Now that I've got that assigned to the touch screen, I can simply just turn the effect on by itself, activate it on the touch screen, and just have one button now to activate that half echo loop. We can also now do a flanger. Yep. So now I'll assign a flanger to the touch screen as well, and we'll set our flanger nice and wide, about 32 beats. We'll assign that to channel 2, and there's our flanger. That's simple. So now we can turn that off. We can turn this to anything we want now, activate our flanger, go back to channel 2, turn it on. And there's our flanger. And we also have the ability to touch the X pad on the touch display, which again just gives you another performance element on top of your effects, much like the echo here. So suddenly now we have multiple ways to achieve the same thing. And that's great because sometimes you might have the pads tied up doing something else, so you need to use the touchscreen for the effects. The display upgrades don't end with a 10.1-inch screen. They've also updated the displays on the Platters themselves with a new LED display on the inside here, which displays the artwork of the track playing and also shows you the position of the needle, which is great for those scratch DJs. So you can see where the needle's at and exactly what you're scratching, with the visuals on the screen as well to show you where you're at on the waveform. So this is a great unit for turntablists and battle DJs as well. Platters themselves weren't upgraded to the full size, but this minimizes the overall size of the controller, so I don't think it's that big a deal. Unless you're somebody who does need the full Platters for battling and scratching, these Platters feel great and they give you the same control as any CDJ out there. So hopefully in all you can see that the new Pioneer XDJ-RX3 gives you the full feel of a club setup using 2 CDJ3000s and a DJM900 Nexus 2 mixer at a fraction of the weight and a fraction of the cost to buying all 3 of the units separately. This makes it a very attractive unit for DJs who want to get a feel of a piece of Pioneer hardware, getting used to the CDJ Platters and getting used to the way that the screens navigate on Pioneer units. This is a great place to start. It's also a great unit for those DJs who like to get a little more creative with their mixes, giving you way more access to effects, making this a very fun mixer to play around with. That's all from me. Hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time.